So I was looking at this game called Kingdom Come Deliverance. I think some people have heard of this game. It's an independent title. It's kind of like extreme version of Skyrim or Oblivion or any other open world game you've played. Basically, if you don't know much about it, it's very hardcore. It's not fantasy based at all. It's set in medieval times, and as far as I can tell, it's got pretty much the most bare bones, hardcore level medieval RPG simming you can go for. Now, I was going to get this game because I sort of felt that it was somewhat, I guess you could say, like the old school classic RPG games that I used to play. Something in the vein of Daggerfall, where a lot of these things were sort of simulated. It was more of a simulator RPG type game. Now, initially I was going to get this game, but I decided to hold off on it for multiple reasons, one of them being a new game, and I just sort of want to see how this thing sort of plays out. Usually with a lot of games right now, there does come into a point where they launch with a lot of crippling bugs, which I've heard in this case it does, and they definitely launch with some performance issues even on high-end systems. Being a high-end system owner, I have come to the crippling terms of depression where I know that some of these high-end games that I end up buying don't really work well on any system, so it's better to wait about a month, a couple weeks at the most, to sort of let all the issues feel out before you put down $60 and play some of these fucking games. But I was looking at some of the patch notes for this type of shit. I was looking at actual, usually I look at Twitter for these kind of outbursts when it comes to video games. I was looking in the case of Kingdom Come Deliverance having a patch size as big as the fucking game itself, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it ended up leading to a lot of speculation where people wondered if the game was even on the fucking disc that it shipped with, which, again, is also a problem. If you don't remember, a game known as Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, really awesome game, should have won fucking Game of the Year, ended up coming on the physical disc just a application file that they put into the game, like a 100 megabyte application file. You have to download the rest of the fucking game through the in-game day one update. So I thought maybe on the very scary term that this game might be the same type of deal. Usually when I buy physical discs for games, which I do a lot, I love buying physical discs for games because if I know I'm going to play a game for a long time, a single player experience, I like it to be on the disc. I like the moment where I put Persona 5 into my PlayStation 4, it does that little 1 minute install and bam, I'm playing the whole fucking game without ever having to worry about PSN servers being down, me not be able to download a game or something of the sort. When I find a game that ships on a disc that ends up having a patch size as big as the core game itself, which in this case for Kingdom Come is about 23 gigabytes. For me, I don't worry about 23 gigabytes. It'll take me like maybe half an hour to download that over an internet connection. Not the same thing for people who don't have an internet connection of the same caliber. That shit could legit make you take about two days maybe for some people to get that shit assorted, installed, and ready to play the game that they've been waiting for years at this point. Or however long. And that's sort of the one griping issue that I have with some of these day one patches when they reach the size of the fucking game itself. For perspective, 20 gigs I think is about double the size of what Skyrim is installed. So if you took some of those big ass experiences from last generation, they still wouldn't be as big as some of the patches you have for these full-fledged $60 games. So I wonder what the fuck is really even being replaced. There's a lot of reasoning behind this. Some people assume that it's because when the game was printed on a disc, it was a different build entirely than what was being shipped out as the final official build for the game, which in that case, you're buying a fucking demo or some beta version as your full $60 day one release package physically, which is another whole concern entirely. But I sort of have come to the realization that the stuff is only really getting worse. There's only been a handful of games that shipped with a plausible day one patch. I don't think day one patches are bad. In fact, I think day one patches can be a good thing in very situational circumstances. We need day one patches. When a game is printed on a disc a month before its release date, there's always little tiny tweaks here and there that developers are doing for the final shipping of the game. Nowadays, you have to expect a day one patch because the game is literally being developed up until the point of release. Now, day one patches are tolerable when they talk about multiplayer things, minor quality of life focuses, such as in the case of, Assassin's Creed Origins, Monster Hunter World, even some, I don't think Persona 5 ever had a patch, but regardless, games that have patches just to fix minor little things aren't really that big of a deal. But there are games where the patches are literally huge to the point where you wonder if the game is even using any assets on the original disc itself. I remember back in the day when, Dead Rising 3 had a 20 gig fucking day one update, 25 gigs, making you wonder if the fucking game on the disc was even being used, if the files on the disc even mattered at that point. Is the game even same at that point? And you wonder just exactly what the development team was doing with that disc version of the game. You know, when No Man's Sky shipped, it shipped with a day one patch that was as big as the game itself, which of course leads to massive speculations if the game on the disc is even being used. Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to make this video because it's a topic that kind of tilts me a little bit when I end up wanting to get some of these games and I see that it essentially ships completely changed or unfinished. Day one patches are becoming somewhat of a problem, at least on this side of the development spectrum, this side of the world. As far as I know, most Japanese games that ship don't really have this much of a problem. Monster Hunter World didn't ship this bad. Persona 5 didn't have that much of an issue. Final Fantasy 15 might have been the only one with like a 10 gig patch that was there to address some quality of life fixes. Most of that was adding in a massive high-end cutscene, if anything, but a lot of the game you could play on the disc itself. I like physical mediums, and for the most part, they work. They definitely get the message across. I like being able to buy some of these games for like $15, putting them in my PS4, letting them install and play to my heart's content. But when I come across games like this, where on the launch day, they have patches as big as the main game itself, I think that Kingdom Come Deliverance, sorry, I got the title totally wrong there, ships with an install size of 25 gigabytes. If that exact same size is being used to patch the fucking game, what the fuck is on the disc in the first place, motherfucker? What is being used? What have you did you just delete the fucking game and reinstall it again through a patch? What the fuck just happened? I remember back in the days loading up games like Halo 3 where a patch size was even under a fucking megabyte. To this day, you can put in Halo 3 and get a patch of 960 kilobytes. You don't even get fucking save files that small anymore. What the fuck, gaming? Okay? We need to, if you're going to release a game, make sure, if you're going to release it on a fucking disc, print it on a disc, that you're pretty much done with the fucking game. We've reached a point where day one patches are becoming the norm, and if they're becoming the norm, they better not be the point where the physical disc is actually starting to be phased out. Up until this point, there's been physical discs which have mattered. Every single game that has come out really hasn't needed a day one patch to be played, but I think we're slowly reaching the point where a patch is required at launch to even start the fucking game or get it running to a full playable state, beginning to end. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know how you're enjoying Kingdom Come Deliverance. Till this point, this has been me, Mutahar. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it or dislike it. A little triggered moment by me. Hope you're having a lot of fun. Love you very much. I am out.